Don't forget to hit that sub button, guys, for the latest in boxing. So Tyson Fury returns once again, and he defeats Francesco Pianeta. You know, when Tyson Fury has his beard, that's when you know he's serious. You know what I'm saying? Because when he doesn't have his beard, when he's, clean shaven, he tends to, mock his opponent. But when he has his beard, he takes the fight seriously. He fights with authority, and he looked like the vintage Tyson Fury tonight. I thought he looked good in this fight against Pianeta. This was a complete domination. Fury won every single round, and he looked really sharp in this fight. His movement was good. I'm really happy that this fight went the distance. In my final fight, in my last video, I said I hope this fight goes the distance because it would benefit Tyson Fury, because it would take the ring rust. It would help with taking the ring rust off, because he needs some rounds, because he hasn't been in a professional fight in such a long period of time. So I said I hope he doesn't knock this guy out in 2 rounds. I hope it goes, the distance. And so I'm glad it went the distance. This fight wasn't exciting at all. It was kind of a dull fight, but that's what you expect when it comes to vintage Fury. Vintage Fury is usually in dull fights, right? When he fought Vladimir Klitschko, that was a very dull fight. It was a boring fight. Some people say it was a snooze fest, but that's what you expect. This is why you expect Tyson Fury to be in a dull fight, because Tyson Fury normally fights this way when he's at his best. He fights very cautious defensive-wise. He tries to outbox his opponent. Fury looked sharp in here. I saw his reflexes now. He was slipping and sliding. He was, moving his body around. He was evading punches. I thought his opponent looked horrible. His opponent was coming forward, but he really wasn't letting his hands go enough. And this is, his opponent came there to basically lose, because he really wasn't trying. But let's not forget that guys like Kevin Johnson fought this guy, and this guy fought a Klitschko. I don't know. I forgot if it was either Vitaly or Vladimir, but whichever one he fought, the Klitschkos defended their belts against this guy. So if the Klitschkos could defend their belts against this guy, then Tyson Fury can have a tune-up fight against someone like this. So I like what I saw from Fury. He was showing glimpses of his former self. You saw it in his conditioning plays a major factor in this fight. In his last fight against Surfer, he was a lot heavier, and he was just joking in there. He wasn't taking it seriously. He was laughing, and he looked out of shape. In this fight, he looks visibly way better in terms of shape, and he took this fight very seriously. At no point did you see Tyson Fury joke in this fight. This fight went 10 rounds, and at no point did you see Tyson Fury joke, act like he did in the Surfer fight. He took this fight very seriously, and you could tell he took training camp for this fight very seriously, because he's in the best shape he's been in several years, and he looked really focused in this fight. The commentators kept, saying, Fury should go for broke. Fury should go for broke. But David Hayes said something that I agree with. He said that, Fury, even in his prime, even when he was active, he was never a guy who went for broke and tried to knock his opponents out. He was a guy who, would go the distance and be savvy and be played safe as long as he wins the rounds. And he mentioned that Vladimir Klitschko had a career, made a career doing that, going the distance, being, safety first, and winning a decision. So I agree with that. Vladimir Klitschko did do that for several years. So David Hay had a point. I felt that the commentators kept complaining, like, way too much. You could tell they wanted Tyson Fury to make a statement and knock out Surfer. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's a bad thing. Yes, it might have been a snooze fest. Yes, it was kind of lame and dull to watch this fight. It wasn't an exciting fight. But in my opinion, this is only going to benefit Fury, because if he would have gone in here and just blown out this guy in the first round in 30 seconds, how would that benefit Tyson Fury? Yeah, people would be looking at that like, oh, he knocked out this guy in 30 seconds. But it wouldn't give him rounds. He needs rounds, Tyson Fury. So that's why I'm actually really glad that this fight went 10 whole rounds, because it is going to help Fury with shaking off the ring rust. Even though Francesco Pianeta did not give Tyson Fury, a competitive fight because he wasn't in a level that he could give Tyson Fury a competitive fight. He wasn't at that type of level. At least he gave him rounds. He gave Tyson Fury rounds. This is something that Tyson Fury needs. And again, even when Tyson Fury was in his prime, or was active at least, he was never a guy who went for the knockout, right? He didn't go for the knockout when he fought Vladimir Klitschko. He played it safe against Vladimir Klitschko, right? And he did this with several other fighters, so that's just the way he fights. So I'm just really happy that this fight went the distance because it's going to benefit Fury in the long run. I'm also really happy that he looks like his vintage self. That weight loss is doing nothing but being a positive thing for Fury because he looked fast in there. He looked way faster than he did against Surfer 2 months ago. His reflexes looked really good. He was showing a lot of his reflexes in this fight. He was trying to evade punches. He also at times will lean on Pianeta and go to the body. I saw him like throwing uppercuts, and he threw a really good uppercut in the when he was leaning on Pianeta, because he would like lean on him while he was against the ropes. He threw a really good uppercut and rocked Pianeta's head back. I thought if Fury would have been a little bit more offensive, been a little bit more aggressive, he probably could have stopped this guy, because I think it was either the 7th or 8th round. That's when he was actually like trying to be more aggressive, and it looked like he was ready to go, Pianeta, but he just went back to being defensive and being trying not to go the distance. But like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because this is what Fury needs. He needs to take the ring rust off. The reason I feel that it's too early for Fury to fight Deontay Wilder is because I don't know where he's at, because he's been off for such a long layoff. This is why I want Fury to be fighting and going more into basically putting rounds, not for experience, but just because Tyson Fury already has the talent and the skill set to compete in the world level, the highest level of boxing. But I just want him to put in rounds to take away the ring rust. This is my issue. So this is why I'm glad that he went 10 rounds. And let me tell you something right now. Even this version of Tyson Fury, because this version, they look like the vintage version of Tyson Fury, he would give Deontay Wilder problems. Like, I actually would think he would give Deontay Wilder problems because of his movement. And we already know that Deontay Wilder struggles with boxers. These are just facts. He struggles with boxers. He's always struggled with boxers. He has problems with pinning down boxers. So if Tyson Fury manages to... I really would want Fury to have at least 2 more fights. 2 more fights against higher level opponents, just to see where he's at. Because I think a higher level, what I want Fury to fight. I want Fury, because this guy that he fought, he went the distance, he got rounds, and it was good for him. And his timing looked pretty good in this fight. He looked like the vintage Fury, but he wasn't necessarily letting his hands go a lot. Like, he wasn't hurting Fury or like fighting in a pace. He was, Fury was fighting in his pace, because although Pianeta was coming forward a bit, he wasn't, letting his hands go relentlessly. That's why I want him to fight like at least a top 15, top 10 heavyweight who's going to be aggressive, who's going to be pushing him back, who's going to be fighting in a faster pace, just to see how Fury deals with this and see how he's able to deal with this type of pressure, And like I said, it would be good if he went the distance like that, because that would, because that would also take away the rust. Fury still has. He went 10 rounds and he wasn't tired. He was going 10 rounds. He wasn't tired. He was bouncing on his toes a lot. So that's good. Fury still has his endurance. He still has his endurance. So I'm glad that Fury still has like his not only reflexes but his endurance. He's able to go 10 rounds without gassing out. So that to me is a positive. Like, this fight to me was positive. Although it was a snooze fest, although it was dull, although some people might say, it was a boring fight. At the end of the day, this wasn't about it being a competitive fight to begin with. It was about giving Fury the rounds to take away the ring rust, because that's what Tyson Fury needs most importantly right now, to take away the ring rust. So as long as he gets more rounds, it's going to benefit him. Like I said, I hope he fights 2 more fights before fighting Wilder. But even if he does fight Wilder next, he's going to have like 3 months to prepare for Deontay Wilder. And like I said, even this version of Fury, he could probably, I'm not saying he'll beat Wilder at all, don't get it twisted, but he could probably still win some rounds against Wilder. Because when Wilder's in there with mobile guys, he doesn't let his hands go. You know, Wilder is not a guy that is aggressive and lets his hands go to try and knock his guy out. He's more of a sharpshooter. He's more of a guy that depends his opponent standing in front of him so he could land his right hands. But if you throw a jab in his face and if you move, you make it difficult for him. And he tends to freeze up and not let his hands go and be intimidated. So even this version of Fury, I would actually pick to win some rounds against Wilder. Not saying he'll beat him, but I'll pick some rounds. But I wouldn't be surprised if he won some rounds against him. That's all I'm saying, because Artur Szpilka is not a high-level boxer, but he was able to win rounds against Deontay Wilder. That's all I'm saying.